finally, before we get to your questions, we have some news to announce.
Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, Commissioner of the WNBA, just announced that starting in 2025, the WNBA Finals format will change.
The WNBA just dropped a major surprise during the playoffs, and it's all about the Caitlyn Clark effect. They're making some huge rule changes for 2025, but here's the big question. Is this too little, too late? Will these changes really make a difference? Clark's early exit from the playoffs left arenas half empty and tanked TV ratings. Now, the league's scrambling to patch things up, but will these new rules actually fix what's broken? Let's talk about Clark's impact. She didn't just play the game, she redefined it. With 62 records broken, packed arenas, and TV ratings hitting new highs, Clark and the Fever turned every game into a must-watch. Fans couldn't get enough.
Well, I knew the atmosphere was going to be electric when they announced Caitlyn's name in the dark and the fans went crazy.
Here's the reality. The second Clark was out, everything started to fall apart. Ratings plummeted by 80%, and some games started looking like ghost towns, with empty sections covered up to avoid the bad look on live TV. Let's be real. Are you even shocked? Clark was practically carrying the league, and now she's off the court and on the golf course. Can the WNBA make it without its star player? These new rule changes better deliver, because right now, things aren't looking great.
Staying with the WNBA playoffs, let's stay here. Let's just say the ratings aren't the same with Caitlyn Clark and the Indiana Fever now eliminated. By the way, not only was viewership down, but attendance was as well.
The WNBA is definitely in panic mode, ready to do whatever it takes to turn things around. But here's the surprising part. These new rules aren't just minor adjustments, they represent a complete overhaul that could either save or sink the league. The big question is, will these changes be enough to fill the gap left by Caitlyn Clark and boost their ratings? Or will the league keep slipping into irrelevance? Let's dive into these drastic measures. First off, they're extending the regular season from 40 to 44 games, with the introduction of a new team in 2025, the Golden State Valkyries. That means 4 more opportunities to catch your favorite team in action.
Getting to go to multiple arenas so that people that are watching at home can see this environment in a multitude of cities. It's amazing. I love it. The growth continues.
But that's not all. The finals are getting a makeover too. Starting in 2025, the WNBA Finals will shift from a best-of-5 format to a best-of-7 series. This change aims to create a more intense and exciting championship showdown.
Starting in 2025, the WNBA Finals format will change to a best-of-7 series.
Yes.
And the format will be 2-2-1-1-1.
It's clear that the league believes more games will lead to more fans and increased revenue. Plus, they're making changes to the first round of the playoffs as well. The format is shifting to a 1-1-1 setup, which guarantees the lower-seeded team one home game.
Say for the fans, it's a benefit for your team. It's played well enough to get into the playoffs. So now that your fans will be able to see your team play at home during those playoffs.
Yeah.
Remember the Fever Sun series? The Indiana Fever couldn't return to play in front of their fans at Gainbridge because of all the drama in Games 1 and 2. It seems the league has finally realized that lower-seeded teams need to have the chance to play in front of their home crowd as well. Now, Commissioner Kathy Engelbert is trying to pitch these changes as if they're going to save the league, claiming it's all about balancing the schedule. But let's be honest, it feels more like a frantic effort to keep things running without their star player.
With the increased attention this year, there's also been increased scrutiny about the quality of refereeing. Curious if there has been any conversation about whether it's referee pay, referee training, anything to ensure that is as good as it can be.
Let's be honest for a moment. Are these changes truly tackling what fans care about? Sure, having more games looks good on paper, but what about the issues that really matter, like player safety and fair officiating? Those concerns seem to have been completely overlooked by Engelbert.
Yeah, and the one thing as a very long-term sports fan I know is that officiating and refereeing is always...
Shaq went on Angel Reese's podcast this week and shared his billion-dollar idea for the WNBA.
In the next few minutes, you'll witness the moment that rattled women's basketball to its foundation. We have Shaq, Angel Reese, and a whole lot of uncomfortable truths to unpack.
Bro, a pretty girl dunking on the rim, I'm watching that all the time. You laughing.
A man is not turned on by no woman that's dunking.
It ain't about being turned on. It's about seeing stuff that you're not supposed to see.
Here's what's ahead. We'll reveal the exact words from Shaq that made Angel uncomfortable, showcase the statistics that support his claims, and explain why this one conversation could potentially alter the future of the WNBA. Stay tuned, because this is going to be intriguing. Shaq just dropped a truth bomb that has the entire basketball world buzzing. We're talking about a 4-time NBA champion, a Hall of Famer, and a business mogul worth over $400 million. When Shaq talks, people pay attention, and he certainly had a lot to say about the WNBA. Picture this: Shaq sitting there, calm and collected, as he discusses ways to make the WNBA more exciting. His suggestion? Lower the rims. Let's roll the first clip.
And women's beach volleyball, let's just say the net is 10, but women is lower just a little bit. I'm not saying lower it to 9, 5, 9, 6, but just 9, 9.
Just so we can dunk?
Yes. No, see? And
I hate when men say that.
But listen, that's the only difference.
People always disrespect women regardless. They're always going to not give us the same value as a man. So I just don't even think that.
And that's why you got to do what you've been doing. Go take the
Yeah.
I'm telling you now, if you lower that thing to 9.
And what's going to happen? All right, tell me, the money going to go through the roof?
Yeah.
Not all the way down to the ground, of course, but just enough to change the game. He's suggesting lowering the rim to about 8 to 10 feet below the standard height. Why? So we can see some dunks naturally. You might think that doesn't sound too bad, but here's where it gets interesting. Sitting right across from Shaq, Angel Reese isn't on board with that idea. She fires back, making some compelling points about respecting women's basketball.
I feel like it still wouldn't be good enough. It's never good enough for a man. People always disrespect women regardless. They're always going to not give us the same value as a man. So I just don't even think that.
She then addressed the issue of people not tuning in to watch the game.
Yeah.
I'm telling you now, if you lower that thing to 9.
And what's going to happen? All right, tell me, the money going to go through the roof?
Yeah.
We don't even have the people don't even watch the game.
You can feel the tension rising as Angel contends that lowering the rim is outright disrespectful to female players. But Shaq wasn't finished. He delivered a real knockout punch.
We don't even have the people don't even watch the game.
Because I don't want to use the B word. Unless it's certain people playing. It's like you're watching like a high school game.
He looked Angel in the eye and compared the WNBA to high school basketball. Yes, you heard that correctly. Shaq stated, and I quote, "It's like you're watching a high school game." Can you imagine the collective gasp from WNBA players everywhere? Let's break this down for a moment. Shaq, one of the most dominant players in NBA history, just suggested that the highest level of women's professional basketball is comparable to high school boys' games. That's not merely a critique. It's a full-blown slam dunk of criticism.
Shaq, he was trying to teach Angel Reese how to make the WNBA more entertaining. So people might actually watch the product. And Shaq is qualified to do so. During his NBA career, the dude was a brilliant marketer. He knew how to be entertaining while also being dominant on the court. There was a reason that every member of the media was waiting by Shaq's locker after games. They knew he would deliver the best sound bites. They knew he would give the most entertaining interview.
You might be curious about how this will unfold. On one side, there are people agreeing with Shaq, believing he's just voicing what many have been thinking. They argue that if the WNBA wants to attract more viewers and generate more excitement, then something needs to change.
Angel Reese, just because a man is criticizing your league, it does not mean he is disrespecting women. This is the entitlement I always talk about. Angel Reese and her colleagues in the WNBA, they have this false sense of entitlement that makes them believe that they are above being criticized. Anytime they are criticized, they want to play the victim. Men don't respect women. Oh, yeah?
On the flip side, there's a large group of upset fans and players.
Global platform now that Caitlyn will have coming into the professional ranks. So it's really a great time to be in basketball.
Caitlyn Clark is clearly a catalyst for a business that was, and let's be honest, Caitlyn to some degree financially saved the WNBA. It was hemorrhaging money for years.
Build, you have to scale, and ultimately expansion had always been on my list. But we didn't want to rush into it because we wanted new owners, like new ownership groups. Anyone who knows sports here knows like it's a slog to be a sports owner.
What would you do to stop your most valuable asset from jumping ship to a competitor? Well, the WNBA just showed the world its answer to that question. Just hours ago, Caitlyn Clark, a name now synonymous with basketball excellence, made waves around the globe.
Hi, Caitlyn.
Hey, what's up, Caitlyn?
Yo, what's up, Caitlyn?
Hey, Caitlyn.
Hey, Caitlyn.
Famous for her incredible shooting range and intense competitiveness, Clark was anticipated to take the WNBA to new levels after being drafted by the Indiana Fever.
The Indiana Fever select Caitlyn Clark, University of Iowa.
However, recent rumors indicate that Clark may choose to skip the WNBA and head to Europe for the attractive contracts available there. In response, the WNBA is ready to make an unprecedented offer, an ownership stake in the Indiana Fever to ensure Caitlyn Clark stays in the U.S. Her arrival in the WNBA was poised to be a game changer.
Looked up how much the tickets are going for. I kind of cut that price in half.
Sites like SeatGeek are charging hundreds and thousands for a seat at Barber Hawkeye. She says the attention for the sport has grown a lot in the 15 years she's been a super fan.
After an outstanding college career in which she broke records and attracted millions of viewers, the WNBA viewed Clark as their golden ticket. Her talent for drawing crowds, boosting TV ratings, and increasing attendance to unprecedented levels made her the most anticipated rookie in recent WNBA history. The Indiana Fever, who had struggled with both attendance and performance, saw a significant rise in their numbers after drafting Clark.
And the Fever are going to be over 200,000 higher than the next highest total attendance in league history.
Many believe she has the potential to transform the franchise single-handedly. Her knack for attracting fans wasn't just a guess. During her college years, Clark's games ranked among the most viewed in women's basketball history. In her rookie season, attendance for the Indiana Fever nearly quadrupled. Her games turned into must-watch events, contributing to one of the WNBA's best seasons ever in terms of TV ratings. For the WNBA, Caitlyn Clark wasn't merely a player, she represented a bright future for the league.
Caitlyn Clark is clearly a catalyst for a business that was, and let's be honest, Caitlyn to some degree financially saved the WNBA. It was hemorrhaging money for years.
While her WNBA debut was thrilling, Caitlyn Clark was also being pursued by European teams with enticing offers. Europe, known for drawing top WNBA talent with its higher salaries and competitive environment, presented a significant temptation. Players like Breanna Stewart and Diana Taurasi have openly talked about how playing in Europe offered them financial stability. In a surprising move, ESPN is back in the news, this time for parting ways with one of its well-known personalities, Duncan. So, what happened? It all stems from Duncan's ongoing criticism of Caitlyn Clark, a rising star who's been making waves in the WNBA. Instead of celebrating Clark's impressive achievements, Duncan took a different route, one that ultimately cost her her job at ESPN.
Breanna Stewart's never going to win another championship, or, Nafisa Collier's better than Maya Moore. Like, instead of those kinds of hot takes, the hot takes solely and explicitly surround all of these black women versus Caitlyn Clark.
Amani Jones and Duncan have teamed up. They're coming at the 22-year-old white straight girl, Caitlyn Clark. Because, see, here's the deal. Because Caitlyn Clark can throw a ball into a basket deeper and better than anybody in the history of women's basketball. Because Caitlyn Clark plays with a flair.
Before getting into the specifics, let's first break down how Duncan's actions ultimately led to her being let go from ESPN. It's no surprise that she faced backlash. Throwing out accusations without solid proof never sits well with the audience. Viewers quickly picked up on the bias, and it was only a matter of time before ESPN had to sever ties. Today, we're diving deep into the controversy, exploring why ESPN made such a bold decision and how Duncan's criticisms of Caitlyn Clark shifted into what many are calling a full-blown witch hunt. But there's more to this story than what's on the surface. So let's dig into all the details.
She has never been around these type of women. She's never been around, Black women or women from different parts of the country. Like, she's sort of existed in this bubble.
Now, seriously, how arrogant is this? I mean, I hear all the time, don't judge me. Don't judge me by the color of the skin. Don't judge me. Really? Okay. Well, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're sitting there and judging me. You're judging a woman you have no idea. None. Zero zip.
He points out the contradictions. While constructive criticism is one thing, Duncan's approach veered into personal attacks. It's a hard truth, but often that's the way it is. Duncan's comments hit a nerve, but not in the way she probably hoped. Instead of gaining support, she was met with immediate backlash. Fans, analysts, and even fellow commentators called out the lack of evidence behind her claims. Many questioned why she focused on Clark's so-called privilege instead of her undeniable skills on the court. Let's take a closer look at Dan Dakic's take on Duncan's actions and the jealousy he sensed among ESPN's commentators.
Everybody that I know still know what ESPN tells me. It's so ridiculous, these women. It's so ridiculous. There's a green room right next to where the makeup is. It's loud, it's stupid, it's asinine, it's absurd. And that's Elle Duncan and her little cast of cronies. And all the little girls at ESPN, look, all they are is trying to make themselves, well, not better, more popular. And I don't care what they do. Elle Duncan has lived in that bubble forever. Elle Duncan is full of shit here.
His comments hit a nerve, but they echoed what a lot of viewers were already thinking. Criticism is fine, but when it feels driven by envy, it quickly loses its weight. Caitlyn Clark's entry into the WNBA has been nothing short of groundbreaking. Her stats speak for themselves, leading the league in points per game and bringing a fresh level of excitement to women's basketball. Viewership has jumped nearly 40% since her debut, with fans across the nation tuning in to see her in action. Yet, despite all this success, Elle Duncan chose to focus on downplaying Clark's achievements. Let's revisit a moment many feel crossed the line in Duncan's critiques.
The second that you show love to anybody not named Caitlyn Clark, you are part of, some constituency that's trying to keep her contributions at a minimum, and you're racist, and we get a lot of that. It's no wonder that the W coverage is all Black women, because you're all in it together to try to keep her down. It's just, you're kind of damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
It was a clear attempt to change the narrative, but viewers weren't buying it. When your arguments are fueled more by envy than actual evidence, it's a hard sell. The truth is, Caitlyn Clark's story isn't one of privilege. She's competed against athletes from all walks of life, facing obstacles both on and off the court. Many saw Duncan's take as an attempt to downplay Clark's achievements simply because there wasn't anything wrong with her game. While Duncan kept up her criticism, Clark was making headlines for all the right reasons. Let's take a look at how she dominated on the court, proving her critics wrong.
Caitlyn Clark has literally carried the sport on her back. She talks that yang. Resonates with Caitlyn Clark. It isn't her being white. It isn't her being straight. Her game resonates with people in basketball and across the country because she's got that edge. I heard her drop 3 F-bombs in one game sitting right there courtside. Her teammates had to hold her back. She's yelling at the coach. That's what Magic, Bird, Isaiah, Jordan, you name it, that's what they do. Clark resonates. Nobody turning the set on and saying, I gotta watch who?
It's no wonder fans are drawn to Clark. She brings a new energy to the game that's been missing for quite some time. Analyst Dan Dakic didn't mince words when addressing the situation, calling out the obvious double standards. He suggested that Elle Duncan's criticisms were fueled by something deeper. A surprising figure has come forward to support Caitlyn Clark. While she's been celebrated by many NBA greats, the response from the WNBA community has been mixed, often marked by envy instead of respect. It's an unusual dynamic that brings attention to the difference in how men's and women's basketball players view Clark's impressive rise. On the men's side, one of the first to openly back her was none other than Stephen Curry.
You can't help but watch when she plays, where she's shooting from, the range, the confidence, the flair, like she's a performer.
Curry, whose long-range shooting has transformed the NBA, sees a lot of his own style in Clark's game. In an interview, he shared that while her shooting range and style are clearly similar to his, focusing only on those aspects takes away from appreciating the rest of her game.
I saw somebody break down the release time, which is pretty much identical to mine.
Curry was quick to note that although Clark's shooting grabs the spotlight, her full skill set is what truly stands out. Her court vision, passing, and ability to consistently fill up the stat sheet show she's a well-rounded player.
It's crazy though, just because her shot it's like that, it's at that level. But if you really watch, like her floor game is as impressive, so it's kind of the total package.
He described her shooting ability as her superpower, but emphasized that it's her entire skill set that truly sets her apart. LeBron James, another NBA icon, shared a similar sentiment, voicing his admiration for everything Clark has achieved on the court.
Caitlyn Clark is the reason why a lot of great things is going to happen for the WNBA. But for her individually, I don't think she should get involved on nothing that's being said. Just go, have fun, enjoy.
After watching Clark dominate the scoreboard in an NCAA tournament game, LeBron James couldn't help but see similarities between her and himself. Just as he did early in his career, Clark has often shouldered the responsibility of leading her team to victory, single-handedly shifting game momentum. In his words, Caitlyn Clark is the kind of player who can take over a game, lifting her teammates while still excelling on her own. A high compliment from someone who knows all about carrying a team. But there's more to Clark than her skills on the court. Being from Indiana, specifically the Indianapolis area, her rise naturally draws comparisons to one of basketball's all-time legends, Larry Bird. In the 1980s, Bird was more than just a player. He was an icon, known for his relentless work ethic, gritty style, and fierce competitiveness. So it's no surprise that as Clark kept breaking records, comparisons to Bird's Indiana-rooted style of basketball brilliance began to emerge. And it wasn't just the hometown connection drawing attention. Magic Johnson, Bird's longtime rival, also spoke about Clark's impact, comparing her budding rivalry with Angel Reese to his own storied battles with Bird in the 1980s. Johnson pointed out that while rivalries can get intense, they also raise the level of the game and draw more fans to the sport.
We have to understand that both Caitlyn, Angel, and Brink, who plays for my Sparks, they made the WNBA better. They're going to be tested by these incredible women who've been in the league for a long time. Caitlyn is the most popular WNBA player, but she's not the best at this time. Just like Larry and I were not the best when we entered the league. We became the best later on by our play. Caitlyn still has to play great to become the best WNBA player.
In Johnson's words, Caitlyn and Angel have brought back that classic spirit of basketball, where everyone's eagerly watching to see what'll happen next. It's like Larry and me all over again, he said. And now, Larry Bird himself has finally spoken up about Clark. Though he's been mostly quiet on the topic until now, Bird recently offered her some advice as she faces rising criticism both on and off the court. He urged her to keep her focus, reminding her that while critics will always be around, they won't stick. What you're doing now, Bird told her, is going to be. Angel Reese reveals the real reason behind Caitlyn Clark's move to Europe. Angel Reese shuts down rumors, says Caitlyn Clark's exit is a financial move. Angel Reese couldn't resist weighing in on Caitlyn Clark's new European contract. Instead of letting it slide, she stepped in to set the record straight.
What the
is that headline all about?
Yeah.
She is the worst f***ing basketball player.
In the WNBA, this is pretty unprecedented. Someone so set on stirring the pot. Reese, still tangled up in her own steroid controversy, took a jab at Clark, suggesting players are just in it for the money and using racial issues to gain sympathy.
People talk about Caitlyn getting hate, but someone sat down and spent hours putting together an 8-minute video with interlude clips all to trash Angel. Why?
It's obvious Reese is targeting Clark here. The surprising part is that Caitlyn has never said anything negative about Reese or any other black player. But today, I can't help but feel that some people don't really deserve the silent treatment.
Blah, blah, blah. From Angel Reese.
It's pretty clear that Caitlyn Clark heading to Europe isn't just about exploring a new scene or picking up a different paycheck. It's more about escaping the toxic circus the WNBA has turned into. On the surface, the WNBA might seem like the perfect fit for a player like her, someone born to dominate, but in reality, it was becoming anything but ideal. Instead of just focusing on her game, she was constantly dodging scandals and skeptical looks like it was all part of the game plan.
Entitled players in the WNBA just can't seem to understand is, you get what you put in, and right now, you are getting exactly what you deserve.
And why? Because she chose to stay quiet while others tried to paint her as some kind of villain. Some of her own fellow athletes, along with a few media voices, went as far as to label her a racist. Honestly, where do they come up with this stuff? But Clark, always level-headed, didn't take the bait. She didn't waste her time responding to these absurd accusations. She just stayed focused on what really matters, basketball. Yet the drama surrounding her only kept growing, like a bad reality show storyline.
So I think it's really just the fans, her fans, the Iowa fans, now the Indiana fans.
Then Alyssa Thomas, clearly not interested in keeping the peace, decided to stir things up even more. She publicly blamed Clark for racist comments made by her fans. Yes, you read that correctly. Thomas somehow figured that Clark should be responsible for the words of random people in the stands.
I think in my 11-year career, I've never experienced the racial comments from the Indiana Fever fan base.
Ridiculous, right? This wasn't even about anything Clark did or said. Nope, Thomas seemed more interested in redirecting attention away from her own struggles. She bundled up her frustrations, jealousy, and whatever else was going on inside, wrapped it in an accusation, and tossed it right at Clark.
And then she had a press conference where she cried and everybody's so mean to me. Well, she's continued the stupidity. I mean, she cheered on her teammate as she shoved Caitlyn Clark, knocked Caitlyn Clark in the head, and a bunch of other stupid stuff.
The thing is, Caitlyn didn't have to do anything wrong to end up as a target. The love she was getting from fans, her name popping up in every highlight reel and headline, that alone was enough to spark jealousy in the WNBA. And it wasn't just random trolls online, it was some of the very players she shared the court with. And the portrayal of black women in the league is an ongoing conversation. Many, including Aja Wilson, Angel Reese, Cheryl Swoops, and others, seem to view Caitlyn Clark as a major issue in the WNBA, at least according to the league discussions. But is this truly the case? Or could it be more about rivalry and resentment? Some recent developments might make us rethink the situation. Last week, Aja Wilson brought up the topic of white privilege while speaking with Kelsey Plum. Now, Wilson and Angel Reese are both featured on the cover of the Wall Street Journal's magazine. Yet surprisingly, there's no mention of Caitlyn Clark. In 2024, with all that's happening, isn't it worth exploring this from Caitlyn Clark's perspective too? Imagine this. Even if you're the first rookie since 2008 to make the WNBA's first team, break over 50 records in one season, and win Rookie of the Year, you're still not acknowledged in one of the league's largest media spreads to date. This seems puzzling, especially if Clark's success is arguably central to the article's theme. The situation is further complicated by online tensions. Caitlyn Clark is often cast in a negative light, made to seem difficult and unlikable, even while dealing with online harassment from an account managed by A'ja Wilson's friend. And yet, both Wilson and Reese continue to fuel controversy, even accusing each other of unfair treatment and, at times, directing this frustration toward Caitlyn Clark. This leaves us wondering, is this really the behavior we expect from an MVP or Rookie of the Year? This situation honestly feels like a case of bullying. It's the peak of first world issues, showing a lack of responsibility and, frankly, Angel Reese's lack of consideration. Watching this unfold is mind-boggling. You're right, it's easy to see how she comes across if you have even a bit of self-awareness. Honestly, if I were another WNBA player without Caitlyn Clark's visibility, she wouldn't be my concern. She isn't the problem here. More people are starting to catch on. Caitlyn Clark was never the issue. Her critics were the ones using her name for attention whenever things didn't go their way. Those same athletes, analysts, and experts quickly make noise when they feel slighted, then claim Caitlyn Clark is the root of it all. But here's the truth. The issue might actually be Angel and A'ja, not Caitlyn. It's worth asking, who's really harming the league's reputation? Angel Reese or Caitlyn Clark? Because, once again, it's Reese's unlikability that seems to be hurting the league's image. Caitlyn, on the other hand, is generally well-liked and doesn't flaunt privilege or entitlement as if she's something special. People from all backgrounds are beginning to notice this. You made a great point. Caitlyn Clark is helping drive the league's success and bring in money, while Angel Reese's behavior might be doing the opposite. The WNBA doesn't seem to be catching on, but the fans certainly are. Yet, we're still being told to embrace both Angel and A'ja as league icons. But do they even realize who they're trying to promote? I get it. A'ja Wilson is undoubtedly one of the greatest players, a true icon who will likely be in the Hall of Fame. Her stats alone speak to her greatness, and that's worthy of respect. But as I look deeper into this and see more of her behavior, I can't ignore a hard truth. She's becoming more and more. Caitlyn Clark's reaction to Sabrina Ionescu's game-winning shot in the WNBA Finals was anything but chill. Sabrina's three-pointer gave the Liberty a huge 80-77 win, and while the world was hyped, Caitlyn was visibly frustrated. Her season ended way earlier, and seeing her biggest rival take over in the spotlight hit different. Caitlyn's always been that player everyone watches, but this time, it's Sabrina stealing the show, and you could sense that jealousy. The rivalry between these two has been bubbling under the surface for a while, but this game just cranked up the tension. Caitlyn came into the league with the hype, the fan base, and the expectation to dominate. Sabrina, however, has been quietly making her case, and now she's got everyone's attention. For Caitlyn, sitting on the sidelines while Sabrina hits clutch shots and leads her team is a tough pill to swallow. Post-game, Caitlyn didn't exactly hide how she felt. In interviews, she brushed off Sabrina's performance, calling the game winner just one shot, which only made it clear how much that moment bothered her. The jealousy was right there for everyone to see. Caitlyn's used to being the star, and seeing Sabrina take her spot as the WNBA's current queen? Yeah, that's not sitting well at all. This isn't just about Sabrina's one play though. The rivalry between these two runs deep, going back to their college days when both were dominating the game. Now, as pros, it's become a battle for the top spot. Caitlyn had the spotlight coming into the league, but Sabrina is stealing the shine when it counts. That game winner wasn't just a clutch moment, it was a power move, showing that Sabrina can take over when it matters most. Caitlyn's frustration is understandable. She's a competitor to her core, and seeing her biggest rival have her moment while she watches from the sidelines, that's fuel for the fire. But you can tell she's struggling with the fact that right now, the spotlight is firmly on Sabrina. That frustration and envy are driving Caitlyn, and the tension between them is only getting thicker. Sabrina, on the other hand, is living for these moments. Her ability to deliver under pressure is what's setting her apart right now. Even though she struggled earlier in the game, finishing with just 13 points, she hit the shot that mattered most. And that's the kind of thing that elevates a player from good to legendary. While Caitlyn watches, Sabrina's out there writing her own story, and you know that's eating Caitlyn alive. Next season, this rivalry is going to reach another level. Caitlyn's not going to let Sabrina keep this momentum without a fight. You can bet she's using all this jealousy and frustration as motivation to come back stronger. The next time they meet on the court, it's going to be electric. The tension is there, the stakes are higher, and Caitlyn's got something to prove. But right now, this is Sabrina's moment. She's earned the spotlight with that game winner. And for now, she's the one everyone's talking about. Caitlyn, on the other hand, is left stewing in the envy, knowing she'll have to wait for her chance to take back the crown. This rivalry is only getting started, and the next chapter is going to be must-watch battle. Caitlyn Clark recently shared some footage of her training in Europe, and it's everything we've been looking for. This serves as the ultimate evidence of how a truly respectable league treats its star players.
No matter how the cachet of the WNBA elevates, remember, it could have been even better. You messed it up. You messed it up.
You can truly see the joy on Clark's face. She looks free, incredibly happy, and completely unbothered. Those days of putting up with cheap shots, dirty hits, and all that nonsense are behind her. There's no one poking her in the eye or hip-checking her into the stands.
So now give me the reasons why. She's gone.
And here's the best part. There's no racial tension or scheming against the league's top talent in Europe. The players focus on their game, and Clark can finally concentrate on what she does best, dominating on the court. The contrast is clear, and it's no surprise she's thriving in a league that truly knows how to honor greatness.
I have honestly never seen a company fumble the bag so hard like the WNBA fumbled Caitlyn Clark.
She's playing as if she's finally free from all the nonsense, free from cheap shots, and definitely free from the relentless negativity she faced in the WNBA. It feels like a completely new Caitlyn Clark, and she's clearly enjoying every moment. She's smiling, sinking threes like they're layups, and making no-look passes as if it's just another day in the park.
I think it's a good number. Threes were a little bit, I wouldn't say lower. I'll still take 63, but I want to be more so around 70 if I can. Yeah. 81 mid-range is really, really good.
There's no fear, no hesitation, and no worrying about getting smacked in the face or having someone try to take her out. In Europe, they truly appreciate talent. They love and celebrate her. She's not dodging elbows or dealing with dirty looks anymore. Finally, she's being treated like the superstar she is. It's as if she's escaped a nightmare and landed in a place where basketball is celebrated.
And it sucks that so much of it was riddled with so much drama and so much negativity and so many mishaps.
You know who's really losing it? The WNBA. That's right. The league that thought they could just sit back and let Caitlyn Clark get poked in the eye, body checked and disrespected day after day. Now they're complaining about losing their star, but let's be honest, it's their own fault. They made it unbearable for her. How many times did we watch Clark take a cheap shot while the referees stood by without taking action? And what did the WNBA do about it? Nothing. They allowed it to happen repeatedly.
Like we talked about in our locker room after the game ended, where obviously people were pretty disappointed in the outcome.
Here's the thing. In Europe, they don't have that kind of drama. No Chennedy Carter blindsiding her, no Dejonai Carrington going for her eye. No one is trying to take her down just because she's different. She's not facing players who resent her simply because she's a straight white girl excelling in their league. Over there, it's all about basketball. It's pure, it's clean, and it's a genuine league that respects the game. Caitlyn Clark's transition from the US to Europe is creating quite a buzz in the basketball world. Her choice to sign a lifetime contract with a European club has fans curious about what motivated such a bold decision, especially after her impressive rookie season. From deep three-pointers to record-breaking assists, Caitlyn quickly emerged as a star in the WNBA. However, her journey in the league wasn't as smooth as it seemed. In interviews, Clark opened up about the challenges she faced both on and off the court. One of the toughest parts of her life as a professional athlete was the pressure to always be on. She mentioned that there are days when she simply doesn't want to engage with anyone. When someone comes up to you, that's their 10-second interaction with you. So you smile and try to be kind, but sometimes you just want to be normal, she shared. Caitlyn's rookie season was physically demanding. She faced aggressive defense and often felt like she was targeted by opponents pushing the limits of fair play. Hard fouls and elbows became all too common, yet she kept her composure, accumulating assists and points while setting records despite the relentless pressure. Additionally, as a young white player in a predominantly black league, Clark encountered subtle but uncomfortable moments from both fans and fellow players. These factors weighed heavily on her and played a role in her decision to seek new opportunities overseas. In Europe, she saw not only a fresh start, but also a chance for personal and professional growth. Playing in a different league would provide new challenges without the constant scrutiny she experienced in the US media. While some critics argue that Clark's move might be premature, others view it as a calculated decision to prioritize her passion for the game without the distractions she faced at home. As Caitlyn embarks on this new chapter, she leaves behind a complex legacy in the WNBA. Her talent and determination are undeniable.
And Iowa has Caitlyn Clark, who's become this huge star. She's amazing, and she's getting all this attention, and some nasty press reporters are upset about it.
Did you catch what just happened? Megyn Kelly, yes, that Megyn Kelly, just made some explosive comments about the WNBA, and she's not holding back. She's calling out the league for treating Caitlyn Clark like she's the enemy. Hard to believe, right? So, what exactly did Kelly say that's got the WNBA so stirred up? Her blunt remarks about Caitlyn Clark have lit up the basketball world, sparking a huge reaction across the league. Kelly didn't mince words, and now her comments have everyone on edge. Let's dive into the details everyone's buzzing about.
But she came out to say her own scoring record stands despite Caitlyn Clark beating it, because I guess they didn't have three-pointers when she was playing, which is just ridiculous.
Kelly didn't hold back when she criticized the WNBA for its treatment of Clark. She bluntly stated that what's happening to Clark is really that serious. Can you believe it? This isn't just some offhand comment. Kelly's words carry significant weight.
So she's getting a lot of hate from people like that. Of course, Jamel Hill has weighed in, like a lot of people taking shots at her.
You might be wondering, since when does Megyn Kelly care about basketball? And that's a fair question. She typically doesn't involve herself in sports drama. So why is she speaking out now? The reason is that what's happening to Clark is so outrageous that even Kelly felt compelled to voice her opinion.
She's been in the WNBA for 2 minutes. There's no reason to hate her other than the amount of attention she's getting and her skin color. I mean, would this be happening to a black Caitlyn Clark?
No.
Getting the same amount of attention.
This is where things really heat up. Kelly revealed that some players are actively targeting Clark on the court. She's not referring to just tough defense or regular competition. She's saying that Clark is experiencing outright abuse. And get this, she claims the league is allowing it to happen. How wild is that?
And it's resulted in physical alterations on the court that don't get called as fouls, that the girls then deny were intentional. And Caitlyn Clark always takes the high road. She never, points the finger, but it happened again.
But Kelly didn't stop there. She linked Clark's treatment to larger issues in women's sports. You know how Clark has been in the spotlight a lot recently? Well, Kelly made a shocking statement saying that.
Many black women inside the WNBA are resentful that this white woman came in and is getting all this attention.
That's a serious accusation, and it stirred up strong reactions on all sides. Kelly isn't just referring to fouls and rough play. She's claiming there's a significant amount of racial tension simmering beneath the surface of the WNBA. She believes Clark is right in the thick of it all.
The people weren't going, Jake, because they were homophobic, racists. That's why the other girls resent Caitlyn getting attention, because she's not Black.
You might be asking yourself if Kelly is correct about all this. That's the million-dollar question. One thing is certain, though. Her comments are prompting everyone to seriously examine what's really happening in the league. Kelly believes that Clark is turning the sport into something mainstream. And if that's the case, it seems not everyone is pleased about it.
These are the highest ratings in more than 10 years. And it is 100% because of Caitlyn Clark.
Those are regular NBA ratings. Like if you get a couple million people watching an NBA game, you're pretty happy as a network guy. She is the Michael Jordan. Like I know you're not a major basketball
Him, I
person, but she is the Michael Jordan of female basketball. Every single player in that league, every single coach, manager, janitor, anyone who has anything to do with that league should be bowing at the altar of this woman. She is transforming the sport into something mainstream, which is what the WNBA was set out to do, and I think it started in 1994 or 1995.
This isn't just some drama. It's a major earthquake rocking the WNBA. Caitlyn Clark presented in Europe after record-breaking WNBA season.
From the sounds of this interview, it seems like she's probably going to make more money overseas in EuroLeague than she did during this WNBA season. The commissioner told her that she could make $700,000 playing in the WNBA.
The EuroLeague just made it official. Caitlyn Clark is heading overseas. And now the WNBA is buzzing over the contract details. It's clear that while Clark is about to make waves in Europe, Kathy Engelbert and the WNBA execs are probably sweating it out. Without Clark, they're likely heading back to that familiar spot of irrelevance they were stuck in before she came along and gave people a reason to tune in. Let's be honest, most are only watching because of Caitlyn Clark. And once she's gone, it's hard to see anyone sticking around for those average teams.
Now, I feel like there could be a team overseas who would love to snatch Caitlyn Clark away from us and give her a crazy offer. I mean, Ice Cube was about to give her $5 million to play in less than 10 games in the Big Three. So the money is there, and if these owners are smart with it, I could definitely see more WNBA players going overseas.
The WNBA pretty much shot themselves in the foot with a series of bad decisions and some race-baiting drama that cost them their star player. They lost their golden opportunity. But let's not dwell on their mistakes. Caitlyn Clark's new adventure is where the real excitement lies now.
Going overseas and possibly not returning.
I totally understand that some of you hardcore Caitlyn Clark fans in America might be feeling a little down about her moving to Europe. But let's face it, you want her to be happy, right? That's why you're staying quiet about it. Deep down, as long as Clark is doing well, you're okay with it. And don't worry, Clark cares about you just as much. In fact, I have a little surprise from her that's going to make you really happy. So stick around for that. For now, let's dive into what's really happening with this EuroLeague deal.
Unfair what the players are paid.
So, the big boss of EuroLeague women has finally put all the speculation to rest. Caitlyn Clark is officially getting ready to head to Europe. And no, this isn't just a temporary gig while the WNBA takes a short break. This is a major move. We're talking about EuroLeague Women, which is technically the top competition for women's basketball in Europe. Yet somehow, it still doesn't get the recognition it deserves. It's like this hidden gem in the basketball world, and people are still overlooking it.
If you look at his rookie salary, which was around $55 million for 4 years, and then you look at Caitlyn Clark's $300 and I think it was $38,000 salary that she signed for 4 years, that is about the same amount more. It's around 162 times more that Victor made.
For those who may not be aware, EuroLeague Women is managed by FIBA Europe, and believe me, it's where some of the most intense basketball takes place. This isn't just a casual summer league. The EuroLeague runs from October to April. That's ideal for Clark to keep her basketball skills sharp throughout the year. She's really positioning herself to excel on both sides of the Atlantic. It's like she's playing chess while everyone else is still figuring out checkers.
They always sold out.
Unbelievable. So Atlanta would normally have 3,000, 4,000 people. Now they have 17,000 people, and they sold 1,000 standing room only tickets. So when we walked into the arena, people were on that third balcony looking down at the tops of our players' heads to watch. I mean, it's really hard to take in.
And here's something interesting. EuroLeague Women has been around since 1958. That's right, longer than most of us have been alive. It's like the original league for women's basketball, even getting a rebranding in the 90s. Yet, for some reason, it hasn't achieved the same commercial success as the WNBA. But don't be fooled. This league is serious business. It has stood the test of time for a reason and is home to some of the best players in the world.